The crystalline doors of the nebula's crown slid open with a hiss that made every patron freeze mid-conversation. Lady Vexera entered like a storm-given form, 7 feet of scaled magnificence, her obsidian horns catching the ambient light as her tail swept behind her in a display of barely contained violence. She was the wife of Warlord Krethus, conqueror of the Outer Rim, and everyone in the station's most prestigious restaurant knew it. The maitre d', a trembling Quillari with 4 arms, practically prostrated himself. Lady Vexera, your usual table is, I'll sit where I please, she snarled, her voice a low rumble that made glasses vibrate on nearby tables. Her crimson eyes swept across the room, and seasoned warriors, veterans of a dozen campaigns, suddenly found their meals fascinating. Emma watched from the service station, tying her apron with practiced efficiency. It was her 3rd day working at the Nebula's Crown, and she'd already learned the cardinal rule. When Lady Vexera arrived, you either served her perfectly or found yourself short one career. The last server who'd brought her drink at the wrong temperature had been thrown through a viewport. New girl, hissed Ral 9, the senior server, his scales pale with anxiety. You take table 7. I'll handle the lady. Emma glanced at table 7, a family of peaceful dendrite traders, then at Lady Vexera, who had selected the central table, positioning herself like a predator surveying prey. The alien woman's muscled arms rippled as she settled into a seat clearly too small for her frame, crushing the armrests with casual disregard. Actually, Emma said, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality that others found unsettling, absolute calm in the face of danger. I'll take her table. Ral9's eyes widened. Are you insane? She ate the last human who served her. She complained about him. Emma corrected, checking her data pad. Different thing entirely. Besides, I need the tips. Before Ral9 could protest further, Emma walked across the dining room with the kind of confidence that came from growing up on a death world where everything, from the weather to the wildlife, actively tried to kill you. Earth had prepared her for many things. An angry alien wife wasn't even top 10. Good evening, Emma said pleasantly, stopping at Lady Vexera's table. Welcome to Nebula's Crown. Can I start you with something to drink? Lady Vexera's head snapped toward her, those predatory eyes narrowing. You're human. Last I checked, yes. A dangerous pause. The restaurant had gone silent. Even the background music seemed to hold its breath. Your kind amuses me, Lady Vexera said, her lips pulling back to reveal rows of serrated teeth. So soft, so fragile. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a threatening growl. I wonder how easily you bruise. Emma didn't flinch. Instead, she tapped her data pad and asked, so is that a no on the drinks, or are you still deciding? The silence stretched. Somewhere, a glass clinked against a table like a gunshot. Then Lady Vexera did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound that made several patrons jump. Insolent creature. Do you know who I am? Lady Vexera, wife of Warlord Krethus, conqueror of the Outer Rim, terror of the Zephan system, holder of 17 battle honors, and, according to the station gossip, someone who really enjoys the Carillion blood wine we have on special tonight. For the first time in recorded history, Lady Vexera looked surprised. You've done your homework, the alien woman said, her tone shifting slightly from purely threatening to something resembling curiosity. I do my job, Emma replied simply. So the blood wine. Fine. And bring me the Tormath steak, still screaming if possible. We can do rare. Screaming violates health codes. Emma made a note on her pad. Anything else? Lady Vexera's tail twitched, a sign of agitation that made Ral9 duck behind the bar. You don't fear me. It wasn't a question, but Emma answered anyway. With respect, ma'am, I'm from Earth. I've been chased by animals that could swallow you whole, survived weather that would freeze your blood in seconds, and once fought off a swarm of insects where each one was the size of your hand and filled with enough venom to drop a crowbar bowl. You're terrifying, absolutely. But you're also a paying customer who wants dinner, and that's something I can work with. The restaurant held its collective breath. This was it. The moment the crazy human would become a stain on the floor. Instead, Lady Vexera threw back her head and laughed again, genuine this time. Earth, she said, almost to herself. Of course, the death world that breeds madness and calls it courage. She looked at Emma with something that might have been respect. You'll do, human. Bring my wine. And human? Yes, ma'am. Make it 2 glasses. You're sitting with me. The gasp that rippled through the restaurant could have powered a small ship. I'm on duty, Emma said. I don't care. Sit. Emma glanced at Ral 9, who was making frantic "do it" gestures from behind the bar. She pulled out a chair and sat, meeting Lady Vexera's eyes without wavering. Tell me, the alien warlord's wife said, her tone conversational despite the fangs. On your death world, do all your kind face danger with such stupidity? We prefer to call it optimism, Emma replied. But yeah, pretty much. For the next hour, the most feared woman in the sector and a human waitress from a backwater planet sat and talked. They discussed Earth's ridiculous gravity, the absurdity of human pain tolerance, and why anyone would voluntarily eat capsaicin for pleasure. Other patrons slowly resumed eating, though they kept glancing over in disbelief. When Lady Vexera finally left, after leaving a tip that could have bought a small spacecraft, she paused at the door. Human, she called back. Emma, was it? Yes, ma'am. Next week, same time. You'll serve me again. Looking forward to it. As the crystalline doors closed behind the warlord's wife, the restaurant erupted in chatter. Ral 9 approached Emma with something like awe in his eyes. How did you do that? Emma shrugged, pocketing her astronomical tip. Humans have a saying, everyone's just people. Even warlords' wives need someone who'll treat them normally instead of being terrified all the time. She picked up her data pad and headed toward table 7, where the Dendrite family was patiently waiting. Besides, she added with a small smile, I'm from Earth. We're too stubborn to know when we should be scared. And in the vastness of space, on a station where 1,000 species mingled, that particularly human trait, that beautiful, reckless courage, had just earned humanity one more unlikely ally, because that's what humans did. They made friends in the strangest places. Fuck yeah. Indeed, the end.